Okay, today we are going to go over another Khalil Gibran poem because I had a lot of fun doing the other one. This is allpoetry.com, by the way. I think I forgot to mention in the last video. Uh, Pretty good website from what I know. No complaints, decent interface. Looks like it has a large collection, so check them out if you are interested in poetry as well. Your pain is dot 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 dot. I almost said dot dot dot. That's the wrong. Anyway, I'm just making myself laugh at stupidness. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Again, we're doing a lot of Khalil Gibran is the way I describe Khalil Gibran most frequently is he can make you cry tears of laughter and tears of joy, tears of sadness and tears of joy at the same time. Tears of laughter and tears of joy, the same things. But anyway, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart must stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And would you accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields? And would you watch with serenity through the winters of your grief? Much of your pain is self chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, through heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen, and the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his hand, with his own sacred tears. Okay, so it's clear what he's saying here. He's saying that suffering is a necessity, and through our suffering is through all the meaning in which we can gain from life. And Gibran really likes to focus on this repeating theme that you'll see in a lot of philosophy and a lot of mysticism and a lot of poetry is that there's cycles to things, and only through the cycles of life can we find some sort of meaning. This is an idea that you see. The earliest I've seen it is Heraclitus, but again, that's just probably the earliest sort of mysticism that we have. I guess maybe the Vedantas are older than Heraclitus, but I don't care about the dating and all the sort of stuff. But this is just a thing that you'll see when you get into really these more esoteric ideas and more esoteric thinkers. Um, but let's get into the actual verses. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. So think of it this way. I can tell you what to do, but it's not going to make sense until you have experienced that pain, that sadness, until you have failed in that exact circumstance that I warned you about. Think of it like your dad or your mom or just somebody older than you told you, yeah, you shouldn't do it this way, you should do it this way, and you didn't want to listen, and you're like, what does this person know about anything? And then you actually go through that problem and you're like, they were right, but I didn't understand it until I actually went through it. That's this idea is that life has to be experienced, and only through experience can we learn. And what experience am I talking about? I'm talking about heartbreak, about pain, about suffering, about when things go wrong. Because if things went right, you would have no reason to recollect yourself. If you just went out and every time you bought the lottery ticket, you won, then eventually things wouldn't mean anything. If everything's handed to you your whole life, you never struggle. You never experience any sort of suffering. This is why people hate Nepo babies so much, is because they don't go through anything. They don't face any challenges. Everything's handed to them. And that's a lot of the reason why they're not talented either, is because they've never been told no. They've never been forced to go back to the drawing board. And because of that, there's no sort of improvement. And you could say all you want about Nepo babies. There are some good ones. There are some exceptions, but I promise you the exceptions were the ones that had the drive, that had the love, that really wanted to experience failure so that they could become better. And it's a necessity to experience some sort of setback so that you can recollect yourself. Because if you never fail, then you never know how good you are. It's when you fail that's how you measure how well you stack up. It's the triumphs and the tribulations that we go through before the success that really mean the most to us. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know the pain. Again, he's talking about, the fruit is beautiful, but it must be broken and it must decay for it to grow a new tree. You must get to the root of things. You must get to the heart of things to experience what life really has to tell us. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life? Your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And could you keep in your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life? Think of, okay, so what he's saying here is this is an idea that I try to reiterate as much as possible. And it's Easter today when I'm filming this, so it's even more important. But the idea that he's getting across is gratitude, and expressing gratitude is just as important as expressing, your discontent with your problems. And how many of us dwell on the things that aren't going right versus how many the things that are going wrong? And I know I said that in a very jumbled way, in a very disordered way, but what I'm trying to say is when I'm having a bad day, what am I doing? When I'm having a bad day, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on what's going wrong instead of focusing on what's going right. And if I can, yeah, I really try to catch myself. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes, you're just overwhelmed by stuff. But the ways that I'm able to bring myself out of a bad mood is simply by saying, you know what, I'm alive. You know what, I have a family. You know what, I have friends. I have a beautiful girlfriend. I have, a car. I have a house. I have a phone. I have food. I have money. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I have the basic necessities that, like, if I'm hungry, I can go to the store and get food. There's a lot of people that can't say that. And it's like it's ridiculous for me to even complain about my life because I have so many blessings that other people don't. I have been given so many miracles and so many things, and yet I want more. And that's what Jabron's saying here. He's saying that, as much as we experience pain, we also have some things that we're really blessed with. And there's a saying, if you don't like your shoes, look to someone that doesn't have feet. And it's like it's ridiculous that we can even look at these imaginary problems when so many people have it so much worse than us. And would you accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields? Think, there's summer, there's fall, there's winter, there's spring, and then there's summer again. And in order for us to get the nice weather of summer and the nice harvesting of the crops, the crops must die. The fields must become barren so that they can become spring again. They can spring up, they can grow again. And there's just a natural cycle of things like, let's say you're having a rough time right now. Well, that rough time is eventually going to turn into a good time because your luck has to get better at some point. This too shall pass. It's like that ring that King Solomon is given, that the legend or the story goes, or the allegory parable, I don't know the exact classification of it, but King Solomon asked for a ring that will make a happy man sad and a sad man happy. And the ring says, this too shall pass. And the whole point of this is that in the moments of good times, you know that things are not going to always be good. And in the moment of bad times, you know that things aren't always going to be bad. And it's just an acceptance of this cycle and understanding of this cycle that allows you to not get too high or not to get too low, and understand that things just ebb and flow, and that's just life. And an acceptance of this fact is much easier to face than why are things going wrong? Why is this? Why is this? And it also prevents you from, when things are going right, from becoming overconfident and making a mistake and doing something that you shouldn't have done, overextending yourself financially when, you're not always going to be given so many financial gifts and rewards, and things just can't go right forever. And you would watch this with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. Again, I think this is an idea that people don't want to accept because it's so frustrating, but most of your pain is self-chosen. And what I mean by this is, you have problems in your life, but how much of it is made worse by yourself? How much of it is made worse by you worrying about the problem? Seneca said we suffer more in our own minds than we do in reality. And what this means is you might have this issue that you're struggling with. There might be something that you can't deal with right now. But does it really benefit you for you to be up all night and not sleep and then wake up and you're not well rested? No, because you're not actually going to solve the problem. You're not actually going to fix it. You worrying about the problem doesn't do anything except make your own life worse. If you're working on the problem, then you can think about it. Then you can worry about it. But when you're removed from the problem, when you're not doing anything to fix it, why are you making your situation worse? Why are you paralyzing yourself with fear? As Dune says, fear is the mind killer. When you're afraid, you are not capable of higher thought. You're not capable of rational thought. You're not capable of using your imagination and your creativity. And because of that, you'll always make a worse decision. And it's the more you start to realize this fact, the more you're able to kind of really set your mind in the right way and really start approaching problems in a more productive and a more efficient manner. It is bitter poison by which the physician within you heals your sick self. And it's what he's saying is that you must experience pain in order to experience what life is really about. Because Gibran has this other line in The Prophet, which is really his most well-known work. Every sorrow deepens your joy, meaning that through suffering, you have a baseline to appreciate the good times, appreciate happiness, appreciate the little moments. And essentially, this is what he's saying here. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. Accept things as they are, accept the bad times, accept the things. It's like when somebody starts bullying you or somebody starts saying something to you. I don't know why this is such a lost idea, and I don't know why it's so difficult to accept. But like, if oh somebody, I'll take my hat off. Somebody calls me bald. Ooh, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna laugh with them because if I give them a reaction of like, oh, I hate you, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, like I give them the reaction they want. They want me to say something back. They want me to insult them back. They want me to get all worked up and all angry and all emotional. But if I just laugh with them, then it is what it is. It can't affect me. Things can only affect you if you allow them to, and it's the same thing with hardship. It's the same thing with pain. If you allow a setback to destroy you, then you allow a setback to destroy you. But if you take the setback as a learning lesson, if you take it as a tool for your eventual triumph, then it's not a setback. In fact, it's the determining factor of what made you you. For his hand through heavy and hard is guided by tender hand of the unseen. He's talking about God. And the cup he brings, though it burn your lips, has been fashioned of clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. And this reminds me a lot of like the book of Job, which the whole point of the book of Job is bad things happen to good people, and you just kind of have to deal with it because things are balancing themselves on a cosmic scale, and you are meant to go through your struggles. You're meant to experience these things so that you can come back stronger, so that you can be the embodiment of Christ, so that you can, take the sins of the world, die on the cross, and be reborn anew, which is essentially just an allegory for forgiveness, if you really want to get into it. But that's my take. But yeah, with that said, this was Your Pain Is, and I think this is a great Gibran poem. We're gonna keep going through Gibran poems because I just love his style of writing, and I really resonate so much with his main message, which is suffering, sadness, and the beauty of suffering and sadness. Please, please, please recommend me other poems to go through. This is like an endless series that we could just keep doing because there's millions, if not billions, of tremendous poems that all have their own heart and all have their own soul and have a lot to teach us. As you can see, I have four poems pulled up like right here. I don't know if I'm gonna go through all of them. I don't know if I can even speak to the same degree as this one about them. But yeah, please feel free to recommend me some things to go through. I'll skim them, and if I feel like I have something interesting to say, I'll talk about them because these are so fun to do. Like I like talking about books. I like talking about the books I read, but you can't really go into as much depth about them because I don't want to spoil the whole book. But when we go line by line and start breaking these down, it's just I think it really lends well to my extemporaneous style of me explaining things, of me talking about what really resonated with me, and hopefully you learn something from this, maybe not from me, maybe from the poet themselves, but I can even do this with my own writing. I can even do this with my own poems, and we can get a deeper look into my own psyche, however screwed up it is. But with that said, I love you guys so much. I'm filming this on Easter. It'll probably be out tomorrow, so it won't still be Easter. But happy Easter, everybody. If you don't celebrate Easter, take some time to reflect today. Take some time to be gracious today. I was gonna make a post on Substack about this, about the necessity to be gracious, the necessity to express gratitude, and understand that all happiness, the seeds of happiness, are through gratitude. I wrote that down. That wasn't something that just came to my mind. I stole that from my own writing, but I'm quoting myself. So just know I didn't, it wasn't original. I wrote it already. But yeah, with that said, I love you guys so much. Check out my Substack if you're interested in my writing. If you're not, then keep sticking around on the channel. These are really fun to do. It's really simple. But yeah, I feel like they offer a whole different perspective and a whole new experience to share with you guys. So yeah, love you guys. Please, please recommend me poems. That said, peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.